I'm Dr. Shafer. Welcome to Talks with Dr. Shafer. I'm a physician, a life coach, a writer, a musician, and I am passionate about storytelling as a vehicle to name, claim, reframe, and move towards your amazing future that's waiting for you. I am so fortunate today to have special ghost. Oh my gosh. Special ghost. Hallelujah. No, I'm so fortunate today to have special guest Faith C. Echo with us. Faith is a social worker, an author, and a survivor of domestic abuse. Faith, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me and for providing me the platform to sort of share my experience and hopefully help others who are going through what I was going through.
Thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing your story, because that is exactly what we need to shed light on these experiences so that, exactly as you said, we can help other people and we can move the needle.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
it sucks that I had to go through this experience, but my silver lining is that because of my experience, I can help other people who are going through abusive relationships and help them get out of them and help them recover and see that it is possible to thrive after.
It is. It is. Now, I want to give a disclaimer to our audience, both listeners and viewers, that we will be discussing domestic violence and domestic abuse. So if that is a trigger for you, I just want to make sure that you're aware that it will be a part of our discussion today.
Absolutely.
Now, Faith, if you could just start by sharing with me what brought you to where you are today, your story.
So I was in a narcissistically abusive relationship for 4 years with a malignant narcissist. And I had no idea what was going on. I thought I was going crazy. This was a person that I loved and who claimed to love me. And we had a family together. And the first year, he was just an amazing human being. Like, he doted on me. He was there for me. He genuinely seemed to care about my interests and my opinions. And then very, very slowly, something switched and he became like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And he would give me silent treatments. He would just not care anymore about my needs, my wants. And slowly down the line, he became psychologically and emotionally abusive. And he would constantly say that I was the one who was causing it and that I was going crazy. And finally, one night, I managed to escape. I left at 3 a.m. with my son. And the next day, I was able to file for a restraining order. And eventually, I found a place of my own. And just one day, I started writing. I thought I need to share my experience with other people, mainly women, because that's what I can relate to. And I just want them to know that they are not alone. They are not crazy. Once I figured out that narcissistic personality disorder is real and that I could put a label on it, it sort of gave me relief. I mean, it was hard for me to accept that the person I loved never actually existed. And I thought my world was over. Like, some days I couldn't even get out of bed. I couldn't leave the house. And this book completely empowered me. And I was able to find my voice and feel validated. Mm-hmm. And so I want to be the voice for other women who don't have a voice anymore. And I want them to know that there is a way out and we can live happy, healthy lives and thrive, because it is our birth-given right, to be happy and peaceful and be loved unconditionally. And anything other than that is just not acceptable.
That is perfectly stated.
Thank you.
I would love to hear your experience, because that's not a quick process to get from when things seemed great. The presentation was great. You bought into it, as we do, because it was sold to you perfectly, right? And that's no fault of your own and no fault of every other person who has a very similar experience. So here you are, you've really invested yourself, your love, your time, your family into a relationship with this person, into creating a future with this person that could never exist because your relationship doesn't exist in
Mm-hmm.
the way that you understand it.
Mm-hmm.
What was the light bulb moment when you started to recognize that it wasn't real?
I started to feel like I was constantly walking on eggshells, and I just became a shell of myself. Like I just couldn't show up for myself, and I couldn't show up for my sons. And that's when I realized that I was just completely mentally hijacked by this person. I had lost 30 pounds. I one night just went to a motel and I was like ready to just check out of my life on this earth, because I was like, I can be a better mom from above to my sons. Um, and then I was like, what am I doing? Like, this is not what I set out for in life. And this guy's starting to threaten me. Like, he threatened to put eye drops in my drink, which I later found out is a way to kill somebody. Um, he would take the starter out of my car so I couldn't leave. I later found out there were hidden recorders all over the house. He had a GPS tracker on me, and just things were getting so much worse. But the final moment for me was one night he threw me out of the bedroom. So I went upstairs and locked the door. He came up and opened the door and told me he was taking our 3-year-old son the next day because, according to him, I had a mental break and I wasn't fit to be a mother. And that was it. As soon as he left, I called my friend and I said, please come get me at 3 in the morning, pull into the driveway with your headlights off so that I know it's you. And she didn't even question it because she had been through it with me. I confided in her, and so she did. She come and took us, and I just ran like hell with my son, and I was able to file a restraining order. And it's taken me a long time. This was 2 years ago. It's taken me a long time to get to where I am today.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad that your friend heard you,
Mm-hmm.
because that can be really hard for our circle to
Mm-hmm.
hear. And just like we, as victims and survivors of narcissistic abuse, we kind of live in this world of what it looks like versus what it is, and we dance between both worlds. I think that can be a challenge for our friends and our family, our coworkers, that they have been given this presentation of what our life is by us because we want it to be that and because we buy into it
Mm-hmm.
or we invest in it. And then we start to recognize what we really need to do. We need to tell them the truth. And that can be a difficult and dangerous time to share that story and to really get them to understand the reality and the safety issues that we're truly facing in our daily life. So I'm so glad you had that friend. How was that process for you of trying to reach out for support when you started to recognize you didn't feel safe and that you needed to make a change in your life?
Well, at first, nobody believed me when I would tell them about things that were happening because he wore a mask around other people. And behind closed doors, the mask came off, and he was somebody that nobody would ever understand. So it took me a while. I think they finally saw that he wasn't the charismatic, honorable man that he portrayed himself to be. I think they noticed my weight loss and my isolation. I just started to not be in contact with anybody. And then slowly they started to say, "Oh, well, okay, I think maybe you're right about what you're experiencing." And I surrounded myself with an army of angels and support and family and friends. And absolutely, if it wasn't for them, I don't think my story would have ended the way it did.
Yeah, that's why what you're doing is so important too, because in the early stages of recovery and making changes in our life situation, I think, for myself and for other people that I have walked beside on this journey, and I'll be curious to hear if it was similar for you as well. Our first friends we talk to aren't our friends. They are people online who do podcasts. They are authors who write books about narcissistic abuse, just like you've written your book. They are just secret, quiet places where we can go and feel seen and heard and reprogram our minds, take away the gaslighting and say, no, I mean, this really is my experience and it's not normal and it's not okay. And I think speaking for myself, when you're in a circumstance where you are to that point where you feel wrung out and empty and you have nothing left to give, you often don't even feel safe or worthy to reach out for someone's hand to help you. And that's why I just think writing a book as you have written and spreading your story in a vulnerable and open and connecting way through podcasts, through your writing is so important, to just hold out a hand to someone who's about to let go and say, hey, stay here, stay here. You have something to offer. You're not you right now. There's someone else in here and we need to get them out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And what really, really helped me was, as you said, is listening to podcasts and reading about narcissistic personality disorder. I mean, I've been a social worker for 20 years and I didn't even know what narcissists were all about, and it drives me crazy. People throw out the word narcissist and gaslight like it's become a buzzword without truly understanding how devastating it is to be in a relationship with these people. So that definitely helped me. And it's funny, to your point, yes, that's what I did first before reaching out to people, because at that point I knew this is real. This is the real deal, and I'm not imagining it or crazy.
Exactly. And you broke that isolation. How, in your experience with the narcissistic abuse, how did you experience the isolation? When you look back, what were the things that led to you becoming so isolated?
Well, he would get upset if I ever wanted to go out to dinner with friends or spend time with my sons or take a yoga class or go get my nails done. Like, the wrath and the silent treatment just wasn't worth it anymore. Like, if I did go out to dinner with friends, he wanted me to be texting him throughout, and I was given a curfew, and I just didn't even enjoy it anymore because I keep looking at my watch and I knew what was waiting for me when I got home. So I just slowly stopped doing anything for myself and just edging people out of my life. And I was lonely. I was thinking, here I am living in a house with a man and sleeping next to him every night. And I was lonely. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
And
yeah.
that's how they want us. They want us isolated because it's like the lion goes into their prey when they're segregated from the herd, and they're so vulnerable.
Yeah. Yeah. I myself and many women that I've spoken to who've reached out to me, they all have this similar experience. And once you're so isolated, it can be so difficult to reach out. And that muscle, that communication muscle and stand up for yourself muscle becomes so weak. And I just love what you have done. And it's something that I really try to do, a way I try to live now, that there is no safety in silence. We used to live in silence because that felt safe.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the floor falls out, you realize there is no safety in silence. And you've got to get loud in a safe way. You've got to do it smart, just like you did. You ran out and you didn't need to tell him your plan ahead of time. That would not have been safe. That wouldn't have been safe. So you made a plan, but you spoke up to your friend. And then when it was safe, you spoke up for other women too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because we need to talk about it in order to process everything that's gone on. And I think sometimes we don't realize the pain we've been through until we're trying to explain it to somebody else. And
Yeah.
it's just, it's not worth it to stay always hyper vigilant. And yeah, it's not worth it. I know it's easier said than done, but we need to find a way to get out. And like you said, after we're out and safe, it's so important to process our emotions and everything that we've been through. And we need to practice self love and self care and have grace with ourselves and just surf the emotions as they come and just know that everything we're feeling is normal and feelings are temporary. And someday we will be happy. And I look back and I think, man, why did I put up with that? But there's just, the only thing that matters now is that I'm out and I'm here for my sons and I'm doing what feeds my soul and spending time with people who add to my life.
That's beautiful. I'm so happy for you that you found that. And I want to learn more about how writing this book was a tool for finding your voice and using that muscle again.
It was very, very empowering to finally sort of purge and put everything into words down on paper. It was also extremely re-triggering because I wanted to go to every single dark place and relive the emotions so that I could really put into detail everything that I went through. So some days I would have to step away from writing and then I would come back and I would have to process it. And I put as much detail, like I said, about my experience and as much information about this illness and the abuse as possible. Like after writing this, I felt like I had gotten my PhD in narcissistic abuse.
Mm-hmm. And how do you think your process, your kind of internal process of, okay, here's this triggering event, something as small as your cell phone going off for some of us that still, are in communication with our abuser because of co-parenting, or, something as big as you're home alone and the door bangs or something, so now, or you just remember you walk by a place where something really bad happened in the house, or, in your car, that sort of thing. And you remember, how has your process of dealing with your internal response to those cues changed through this process of writing the book, talking about the book, really kind of living it?
Mm-hmm. Well, I know that I'm safe now. Many times I did wake up in a panic thinking that I was still in his house. And little things, like you said, like even the smell of apple candles, like triggers me because we had those lit all the time in our house. So the smell just brings me back there. I found a fantastic therapist who has helped me process these emotions. And once we go to those places, eventually we become desensitized because we realize that was the past and it's no longer a present threat. So that has been very, very helpful for me.
Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that.
Of
I
course.
think, yeah, sitting in, it's interesting because, we were trained for so long not to actually experience our feelings because that was a waste of time. It wasn't allowed, all of that. And then we start to experience our feelings and they feel so raw and they feel so dangerous and scary. And we haven't really ever taken the opportunity to know what it feels like to feel our feelings and experience them and say, okay, that was just a feeling. I'm safe now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's such an important process of healing, but you have to sit in it and it's not fun.
It is not fun. You have to just embrace the suck of it. You have to just truly sit there and honor every single emotion.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you can't outrun the storm. You have to be the buffalo and run directly into it, because they're
Mm-hmm.
not going to go away on their own. They absolutely will come back with a vengeance. And we just have to truly, truly feel. And when I was in it, I stopped feeling, like I anesthetized all of my emotions, because if I didn't feel, then it wasn't real. And then after I was in a safe place, it's like all my frozen emotions just started thawing out, and just, it was a roller coaster. But I kept
Yeah.
telling myself this is a necessary process, and grief has no, it's not linear. It's like all over the place. And knowing that we can get through it, we can emerge stronger. And there's actually a stage of grief where we find meaning in our experience. Like we look for the silver lining and think, okay, this happened. We can either sit back and be victims and feel sorry for ourselves, or we can use these opportunities to feel stronger and empowered and to help other people. That's the entire reason why I wrote my book, was to help other people, and so they can see they're not alone.
That's so beautiful. I'm so sorry that you had to go through this experience, but I'm so grateful that you have been so brave and vulnerable to share it
Thank you.
and to put it on pen and paper, and then to take, even that's brave, just writing it down, because when you've been as monitored as you've shared today, and I've seen on some other talks that you've done, you were heavily monitored. So you start to really control what you say, what you do, what you write. And so even just writing the truth down can be paralyzingly frightening.
Yes, it was very, very scary and very vulnerable. And at the same time, it really, truly helped me heal and feel empowered and validated. And just, I think, yeah, that's why I just let it all hang out there, because now I can speak. Now I can have an opinion, and I can talk about my experiences without feeling like I'm in shackles.
That's wonderful. And I love it. It's like you were saying before, and we talk about the messy middle. Like you have to sit in it. You have to really dance with it and grapple with it to get to the place where it's not in control of you. And you're not in control of it, because as we grow and understand, and we're on this self-development journey, we understand that control is a part of why we went through what we went through, because someone believed they could control us.
Mhm.
And we understood, no, we're free, and we need to pursue a life where we are the free beings who deserve to have love and happiness. And yeah, we don't control them, they don't control us, and we relinquish that,
Absolutely.
and we just embrace our life. It's our life.
Yes. And I'm a huge empath, so I want to help people and love them unconditionally. And I wasn't prepared at the beginning to realize that I couldn't help this person. Like, he obviously had trauma from his childhood, and it was like in a vault. He never wanted to talk about it. And I finally started to see, yeah, this is not my purpose on life, to be controlled and monitored and have to answer to somebody. Like, we should
Yeah.
be with somebody who builds us up and is a cheerleader and is there for us no matter what, and wants to see us succeed. And none of that was possible with my ex.
Yeah. And a part of healing on my journey has been, you have to recognize that you need to become your cheerleader.
Mhm.
And that's what you did, is you did the studying and learned how to be your cheerleader, and now you're teaching those skills to other women.
Exactly. And like Janis Joplin once said, don't compromise yourself. You're all you've got.
You're there
Which,
in the beginning, yeah. You're
yeah.
there in the end.
Yes.
Faith, tell me about your work as a recovery coach.
So I used to do trauma informed care with mainly children. And since my experience, I've shifted to be a recovery coach for women who are going through all of this. And I basically just bear witness to their trauma, and I provide them with a safe space to talk about whatever they feel they need to talk about. And I validate them. and let them know that they're not alone, that they're not crazy. And I talk about mindfulness a lot, like just to, if your brain is going down the rabbit hole, just stop and take a breath. Like go outside and see how many colors you can find or how many sounds you hear, just to sort of take yourself out of the trauma and bring yourself back to the present moment.
That is so important. Bring it back to your body.
Exactly.
You're safe. You're safe here and now.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I'd love to hear your insights on how much time that takes when you're working with victims who are recovering, because I think we all want to be better now. And we are so used to being shamed that we, in our minds, shame ourselves for, well, I listened to this podcast. I did therapy for a few weeks or a few months. Why aren't I better? See, I'm, and we kind of go into this negative self-talk, but it takes a really long time to heal.
It truly does. I'm not going to say that I'm completely healed. And I think these are scars that we will carry with us through the rest of our lives. Even if nobody can see them, we still feel them on the inside. And there is no right process. Like, I think it's different for everybody. And we cannot speed it up because unless we actually go through it, it's not possible to heal. And it's okay if some days we have bad days and we can't get out of bed or we can't do the laundry, or the important thing is just to not give up. Just tomorrow's a new day. Wake up and do the best you can, because that's all we can do in life is do the best we can with the coping skills that we have.
That's beautiful. And you have done amazing things during your recovery.
Thank you. Thank
I
you.
am so excited that I had this opportunity to talk to you, and I really appreciate your vulnerability.
Thank you so much. And thank you for letting me come on your show to tell my story and hopefully, help other people.
I really think that this conversation will be very helpful for many women. And we want you to know that this is a safe space and you can reach out to us. There are so many wonderful domestic abuse, domestic violence resources out there that when you can safely use them, please do. If you need to get out, you need to get out. You need to be safe, you need to plan, but you need to get out. And so at the in the credits of the show, I'll make sure that we put some numbers and websites that people can access. And I also would like to put on your website your information for your book, and so that people can access and find your other podcasts and just really learn from your experience and have you be, again, one of the people that walks beside them during this process for them as they heal, recover, and seek their safety and this beautiful life that's ahead of them once they choose themselves.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Faith. Tell listeners, and we'll make sure to put it on the website, where can we find your information?
My website is www.faithseecho.com. And that has all the ways to contact me, my links to social media, just to shoot me a message. Like anybody can just call me or email me, faithseecho@gmail.com, because I'm here to help in any way possible, because I've been there. I know what people are going through, and I am a testament that life after abuse is absolutely possible, and it's just amazing. Like there's such amazing things on the other side. We just need to get there.
Hallelujah. We just have to get there. Yep. Never give up.
Never give up.
I love it. Thank you so much, Faith.
Thank you.
Best of luck with everything. And yeah, just keep going.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye. And thank you everyone for joining us on Talks with Dr. Shafer. We'll see you next time. Take care.